Hello everyone. Today we I do I not hear the game. Oh wait, I know what I did. I can't hear the game audio. I turned it off when I was grinding last night, and I did not want to grind at all. I just stopped. System here, up, 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 up. Okay, okay, anyways. This is part, I think 6, if it's not part 5 or part 7, I can't keep track. Okay, let's go see if she's flipping to her enemy. No, not to the enemy somehow. She says an enemy. She says an enemy. I don't know if we can beat Godric right now. I'm thinking we could. Without her help, because I know it's possible to. I really feel like we need to find another win farm we're able to do, because we can't defeat Godric. I know, we just take all the drugs, not drugs, stuff. Sorry. Somebody vicious humanity, physical attack, item discovery. Vicious up by physical attack. maybe buy everything. Nah. I gotta continue watching how to do my full build. Oh god. From a YouTuber, basically. I don't know them. I just know they do.
In this Elden Ring build video, I'm going to be showing you my Colossal Knight build. This is an evolution of the Barbarian build, so if you've been playing that and wondering what to do next, then watch on to find out. You're charged R2 from an attack into a charging attack where you actually charge forward and pancake enemies with an overhead swing, and then if you use it again, you sort of do an uppercut that knocks enemies into the air. This does absolutely devastating damage and is made possible by the Warcry ability. Because of that, you can't use two weapons because Warcry only buffs your right-hand weapon. And also, when you're using R2, you're not attacking with two weapons if you have two equipped. So this is a single weapon build, and you're going to want the biggest weapon you can find that can still be equipped with Warcry. So this means any great swords or colossal weapons, etc., that cannot be slotted with an Ash of War are immediately ruled out. This is the reason that I chose the Great Sword for this build. Not only does it have incredible damage, it's a colossal sword, not a great sword, but it can be slotted with the Ash of War Warcry, allowing for this build to function. What we do is we use the Axe Talisman and the Roar Medallion. The Axe Talisman increases your charged R2 attacks by 10%, so if you hold R2 until your character actually attacks, you're going to get an extra 10% damage, which is huge because those are usually really devastating attacks, particularly with big weapons. And the Roar Medallion increases your Warcry attacks by 15%. It doesn't actually increase the amount of damage you get buffed by from using Warcry, because Warcry buffs your damage by about 10%, but it'll actually buff the attacks after using Warcry. So that's a 25% damage increase when you're using that charged R2 attack where you charge forward, and that's on top of the amount of damage that ability does already, which is substantial. You're gonna see huge damage numbers when using this build, like upwards of like over 1,000 pretty early on in the game, even when you're like, your great sword is only like +4, +5, you'll probably start seeing over 1,000 damage depending on the enemy that you're doing, which is absolutely incredible. You can 1-2 shot early game bosses and probably 3 and 4 shot middle of the game bosses with this build, depending on the boss that you're facing. And a lot of times you just stagger them and they never even get a chance to do anything, which is just absolutely ridiculous. The third talisman I use for this build is kind of, again, a flex spot depending on what you like, but I really like the Green Turtle Talisman because you tend to empty your stamina bar in a split second and you need to regenerate it very, very quickly. That's a lot of stamina you're going to have with this build because you have high endurance to regenerate, so I feel like that medallion is more effective, that talisman is more effective with this build than probably a lot of other builds. However, other talismans you could go with are Erdtree's Favor in order to get more health, and more equip weight, and more stamina. All of those things are good for this build. You're going to take damage playing this build. You're going to struggle with equip load because you're using like a gigantic weapon that weighs a ton. And having more stamina is just good in general. So that's also a good choice. Another choice you could use for this build is the Claw Talisman if you find yourself doing jump attacks from time to time, which you will, although you're going to be leaning into the charge attacks when possible. That's 15% damage increase on jump attacks, but I do feel like if you're leaning more into jump attacks than you are playing this playstyle, you should probably be playing the champion build that I put together, because that fully focuses on those by using two weapons, and I feel like that will outperform this build if you're just relying on jump attacks. Another option for this build is the Viridian Amber Medallion in order to increase your maximum stamina. You really can't have enough stamina with this build. If you get your stamina high enough, you'll actually be able to do 3 charged attacks in a row. That's probably not likely to happen at level 50, but as you get closer to 100, you'll probably be able to do that, which is absolutely devastating. So how this build works is that whenever you're facing a tough enemy or a group of enemies, you're going to hit L2 in order to buff yourself with Warcry, which increases your damage and is going to change your R2 to that charging R2 attack. And then you're going to prematurely R2 into enemies that are moving towards you, and that's going to stagger them when you attack. You're probably already familiar with this if you watch the Barbarian build, but that's going to stagger them, and then you're going to absolutely pancake them with R2, and if that doesn't kill them, you're going to hit R2 again to finish them off. Plays very, very similar to the Barbarian build, but it's even more effective now that you add the Roar Medallion and you have a stronger weapon. One of the things that's really fantastic about this build is the poise you gain from that charged R2 attack when you're buffed with Warcry. You can literally go through arrows and some attacks in order to connect with the enemy anyway. So if you have trouble with enemies that stagger you, if you can get this animation going at like at least halfway, you'll finish it no matter what. And maybe you'll stagger them and be able to finish them off. Even if you trade damage sometimes, it can be a great way to get rid of a tough enemy. Another thing about this build that's really fantastic is it absolutely devastates on horseback if you use L2 and R2. Not only does it deal damage when you're dragging it through enemies, but then when it pops up from the ground, it deals incredible damage. And you can just ride around the landscape, and a lot of times it's even more effective just riding around the landscape, pancaking enemies into the air or knocking them down than it is just straight up fighting them. So I highly recommend any area you can use your horse or use torrent, just playing mounted. It's so easy to do in a lot of areas. So there's that as well. Moving to the attributes for this build, there are really 3 that you need, which are strength, endurance, and vigor. Strength is the most important one because not only does it increase your damage by about 5 or 6 points per point spent, which is significant, it's also needed to meet the requirements for the weapon. You can two-hand the weapon if you have like 21 strength, the greatsword, but if you want to one-hand it, you'll need 32. And if you don't really need 32, you can start wielding at 21 because you're going to be playing two-handed anyway. But if you decide to move on from that to some other weapon that does more damage, or you like it better for whatever reason, eventually you're going to need more and more strength to wield it. So it's good to have, and it also increases your damage. Next up, we have endurance. This both gives us stamina and equip weight, things we both really need for this build. Equip weight's going to allow you to use better armor. This weapon weighs a ton, so it doesn't leave a lot of room for good armor. And even at level 50, you're going to be wearing like okay-ish armor, not great. So as you progress the game further, you're going to want to continue to improve this, but not only get that equip weight to increase your stamina. As I mentioned, if you can get your stamina high enough, you can actually do 3 charged R2s in a row in some cases where it's possible, and that's absolutely devastating. And lastly, you have vigor for this. We have 25, which is quite a lot and for this part of the game, and you're going to keep increasing that as well. You can't really have enough. One of the things about this build is you trade damage a lot, and even though you take damage maybe sometimes on that first swing, you want to be able to tank the next hit as well, so you can continue swinging and finish an enemy off in a couple hits and make fights that, might have lasted a couple minutes on another fight where they were kiting it around, trying to like range it down or whatever, dodging out of the way. You can end it in like 10 seconds even though you have to drink a health pot afterward, and that's kind of the way this build plays. Just another couple final tips for this build before we wrap up this video. You can use fire grease or other greases on this weapon if you want. One of the benefits to using a single weapon is that you coat that single weapon. If you're using 2 weapons, you only coat one. And fire grease is rather easy to make. You can get it if you go to the War Master's shack. There's a little route there. There's rot resin like right in front of the shack, and then the embers are up on the hill, the smoldering butterflies rather, which is just a little ways away from there. You can just do a loop, and you can just give you infinite fire grease. But the thing is, it doesn't provide that much more damage to you, and in some cases where enemies are fire resistant, it'll actually be detrimental. But there are other greases like blood grease, which you can use the blood roses for in order to add bleeding. But again, you swing so slowly, I'm not sure that's super relevant for this build. But nonetheless, you may find yourself needing those, and they're really easy to get. So make sure you use those farming locations if you want them. And lastly, this build is a great candidate if you like great bows. One of the real detriments to this build is that it lacks range at all. It doesn't have a way to like lure enemies unless you like make throwing daggers or something like that. So if you want to use a great bow, this is a fantastic build for that. You could use great bow and colossal sword, which is kind of awesome. Just keep in mind you'll probably need a few more points in dexterity in order to use a great bow, depending on which one you want. But this is a great choice for a great bow for a build. So if you like great bows and you want to use a bow with this, that's a good thing to do as well. Last up, we have our level 50 mage build. This is going to be a pure ranged mage build, not a hybrid like the Magus build or the Enchanted Knight. So if you wanted to see how to play a mage around level 50, we're going to be showcasing that before we finally move on to the 100 level builds and some other guides as well.
Well, that did not help at all. What did he say we need? We axe talisman level 1? Well, 2 YouTube videos for it. Basically, I forgot you can upgrade the weapon. So that means if I just kill the weapon. Maybe I'm looking at us about but also, if I take that off, we're gonna have heavy. Enhanced charging attacks, and now we need the one medallion.
What's going on, Red Gamers? Today we're back with a little bit more Elden Ring, and what we'll be covering today is a great location because you're going to be able to find the Raw Medallion. So if you're after kind of making a build dedicated to Raws, or you just want to up the damage of them, then this is the guide for you. Welcome back, you guys and girls. As always, for all things gaming, for all things Xbox, then why not hit that subscribe and bell icon. I'll bring you all the latest and greatest content, hints, tips, guides and builds, and just some fun gameplay and reviews of games. But for today, we're here to find...
Technically down here.
the Raw Medallion. So the first thing you're going to do is make your way just over here to the Limegrove Tunnels. You're going to make your way through the entrance, and right in front of you is going to be a makeshift elevator that's going to take you down to the tunnels below. So you're going to bop onto that, and it's going to take you straight down. Once you're at the bottom, I would say rather than rushing through this area, especially if you're early game, this is probably one of the best places in the game, starting at the very least, where you can get your smithing stones and glintstone shards. So if you have the resources and craft and upgrade, this is a great area to farm as well while you're here. Obviously you're going to want to activate the Site of Grace just in case you need to respawn here or come back at any time in the future, and then you're going to make your way through the tunnel system in order to get a little bit lower. Kill everything if you want to, or just run past it, because you're just going to make your way all the way over, as you can see here, to the next kind of elevator system. But with this one, rather than going all the way down to the bottom, you're going to dodge roll off to the side and go down an alternative path. Make your way through, there will be quite a few enemies and there'll be quite a few things
Like Jim and use FP to measure big picture performance.
knocking about that you can see here probably before you even see them, and that's going to be the miners mining a lot of those early stones that will help you to upgrade. So again, well worth taking them out and well worth picking these up as you go. Pillage what you need to pillage, have a little look round, and I would say probably go this direction just over here, because again you're going to be able to get yourself 3 glintstone scraps. From here you're going to make your way down the tunnel system all the way to the end, and there's going to be another elevator right at the very end. With this last one, there's not going to be any kind of dodge rolling off, there's not going to be anything about it, we're just going to take it all the way down to the very bottom, where you're going to see an absolutely huge door in front of you.
Okay, basically that's everything that tutorial said. Now we just need patches. You know, how the hell medallions. Alright. Oh, it's turning day. What time is it? 5:50. I'm pretty sure we can take on this dragon. like that. I do not accept defeat. Had to kill me. Like honestly, you can go Sudge. Looks like we're gonna be flying like here for a little bit.
Well, I took you for no matter it's lay out your arm.
Go take on Godric. Basically what I need is music when I try to kill Godric, because when I try to kill Godric and Seaman's co-op, I listen to music and I successfully did it. But also, I'm not about to listen to music like I wouldn't, so if I can't beat him and it's only like 1 hour in, I maybe just cut the recording and, Oh, it's been 36 minutes? Anyways, I'm gonna do that. I'm sure I need to start making these longer. But what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna post this, but I'm gonna work on part 7 already. And for the one person who voted for Batman Arkham City, that's gonna come out very soon. I just need to wait till I am able to get the